What is on the way for weather during the upcoming winter and next summer? Join us for answers to those always big questions and more on what you can find in the 2026 Old Farmer's Almanac is Senior Editor Tim Goodwin. Tim, the always burning question this time of year, what does the Old Farmer's Almanac predict for the upcoming winter? What can you tell us for the national forecast, also right here in Nebraska and Kansas?
Yeah, thanks for having me on today, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here. When we're looking at the forecast nationally, we're looking at a lot of more milder conditions for the upcoming winter. We're talking about mild, comparing to averages over a 30-year span, 1991 to 2020. When we say mild, there's still going to be those pockets of cold in those places that get cold. Overall, for that winter from November to March, looking at more of a milder winter across most of the country. Really on the eastern side of the country is more where those colder winters will be. Where you are, you're looking at more of a milder temperature-wise this winter.
Also, an important question the Old Farmer's Almanac answers is what the weather will be throughout the year. When can we expect some extreme cold and snowy periods this winter in Nebraska and Kansas, Tim?
Really mid-December, late January, and early February for those coldest periods. When it comes to snowfall, there's kind of a chance of snow in each of those months. Kind of that rain, snow, depending on how November shakes out temperature-wise. There's some chance for some rain or snow as we get a little bit later in November. Towards the middle of December, seeing some snow showers with some cold temperatures, maybe a chance of snow showers or rain depending on how that temperature works out that last couple weeks of the year. Some more snow showers towards the end of January with some cold weather. Funny thing is, the snowstorms where we're looking are really going to be later in the winter for your region. Looking at end of February and a couple pockets in March where could see some snowstorms where you hope that winter's kind of over at that point and then it drags you right back in.
Nothing new. We've seen that before for sure. The Old Farmer's Almanac boasts a pretty good accuracy record. Tim, how is the current track record and what can you share for how that forecast is determined?
Year over year, since 1792, our average is about 80% accuracy. And when we're looking at our forecast, we're looking at averages and the deviations from averages, temperatures and precipitations. We say it's going to be a mild winter. Those numbers are going to be above those averages for those 30-year periods. When Robert B. Thomas founded the Almanac in 1792, he was an amateur astronomer, and he really started looking at how weather here on Earth were influenced by sunspots. And that's really what he focused his forecast on. Solar science is still a big part of what we do, but of course, things have evolved since 1792. We're really looking at three scientific disciplines: solar science, climatology, the study of these prevailing weather patterns, and meteorology. Things have changed, and we always have to kind of adapt and look at how we're making these forecasts. Climate change is something that we factor into these long-range forecasts, especially when it comes to temperatures. We've got to adjust these temperature predictions to the warmer side. What we've really been seeing in recent times is fewer colder winters than there were, say, 50 years ago. We're seeing less and less of these multiple consecutive weeks of temperature staying really well below average, 5 or 6 degrees.
Talking right now is Senior Editor Tim Goodwin, learning more about what is inside the 2026 Old Farmer's Almanac. Tim, another big question that is answered by the Old Farmer's Almanac is that forecast for the summer of 2026. How is next summer looking on the national scene and for Nebraska and Kansas?
For your region, we're looking at hot, dry for overall for the summer. Some of Nebraska and Kansas is in a different region. That will be cool and rainy. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. Hottest times really looking at late June and early and mid-July for that high plains region where you're in, other parts of Nebraska, Kansas, really more early and mid-June, early and late July, and early August for those hottest times of the year.
There's more than just weather in the latest Old Farmer's Almanac. What can we find, Tim, that makes this year's edition stand out?
The trends is a really fun thing. As much as the Almanac is about history and the past and kind of looking at some of those categories and those subjects, the trends are really kind of forward-thinking and looking at what's to come and what people are working on in these fields of health and pets and food and gardening and farming. Got a lot of great gardening stories. There's a farm in Kansas that was included in this roundup called More Eggs in More Baskets, and it's about these farms that are really trying to find new sources of revenue, diversifying income streams, setting the price for their commodities and not just taking what people are offering them. We start thinking about astronomy, which has been a big part of the Almanac since the beginning. Space Trash is a really fun story. It's about all this stuff that's floating around in space and how it impacts our ability to view things in the sky. There's 29,000 orbiting objects as of now that are larger than 4 inches up there.
Tim, how and where can we purchase the 2026 Whole Farmers Almanac, and what is the cost?
Anywhere books and magazines are sold. Lots of great local retailers have it. If you go to almanac.com/where to buy, you can put your zip code in, and it'll tell you all the local retailers in your area. We have a few different price points when it comes to the Almanac, some that are a little bit bigger. We've got a hardcover edition. We've got a large print on-demand edition for people who maybe don't see quite as well, starting at $8.99 to a $9.95 price point. Goes up a little bit there when you get up to the hardcover editions.
Thank you for joining us, Tim. That's Senior Editor Tim Goodwin with more on what you can find in the latest Whole Farmers Almanac, the 2026 edition. Throughout the year, you can also see what they offer for unique information at their website, almanac.com. Again, that website, almanac.com. I'm Paul Perkins on the Rural Radio Network.